I should call that radio, TV, and we are live for an interview with Garry Fraser, who's just launched an amazing independent TV show on YouTube called Supply and Demand, and it's incredible, man. And I think Gary's here now. How you doing, mate?
I am good. I was not smoking or drinking tea there.
It's all good, mate. I'm in the water. I'm in the water. Mate, first of all, mate, just like I've been impressed with loads of stuff you've done. You know, I remember watching Everybody's Child way back in the day, and then been blown away then. And obviously, I've known you for years as well. You know, whether it's been your the improvement in your hip hop just gets better and better, and then obviously the Trainspotting 2 thing, that was amazing as well. But I think that the most impressed I've ever been is watching Supply and Demand. I don't know how you've done this independently. So my first question is, how the fuck did you make that independently, basically?
It was really difficult. It was just like we shot for like 2 years or something. 2 seconds. I'm just going to shut that door because there's music that's doing my head in for one of the bed. It was difficult. It was see, I thought I would have been doing the Grey Area part 2, part 3, and smashing it, and then the BBC absolutely shafted us. During the pandemic, they had us writing the follow up to it, and I guess I should have fucking known. It was the BBC. I should have fucking known they didn't want to support working class Scottish culture. It's just them in Creative Scotland have such a vice like grip on anything. You can't mention a drug death. You can't mention HIV in Glasgow's homeless community. Like, there's certain things that you just cannot get past the editorial guidelines. So we know that there's a world that exists out with media, and that's why, like, your podcast, the Leather podcast, or that's why media is becoming so democratized, because there is an absolute appetite for this working class culture. So, like, I just spent 2 years writing the follow up to the Grey Area. And then the BBC says that we didn't want to do it. And then at the time, I was staying up in Dundee. I was sort of in homeless accommodation up in Dundee. And then I moved back to homeless accommodation in Edinburgh. And then when I moved back down, it was the pandemic. And then when I moved back down, the local police were abusing their powers. So it was nothing to do with controlling the pandemic. They just were really strict and really, they were just like really like clamping down on stuff. So like it became really important for me to try and create community at a time when you couldn't even hang around in 3, 4 or anything like that. And I just felt like, that we were getting the wool pulled over our eyes, so to speak. So I created these adult drama workshops. And like, for me, the most beautiful thing about art is when it has a cathartic nature to it. And it's not just when I heal from creating that art, it's when everybody around me starts healing through the process. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things, because you have millions and millions that are pumped into systems and pumped into services and it fails. You know, it just completely fails. And that's been the case for the last 30, 40 years with drugs. And that, we know that. So, like, for me, it became important then that I wanted to create something that was cathartic. But then I pulled all these guys together from everywhere, really. And they all had their own issues. And they just done that thing again, which the non-actors seem to do, which is just they embrace it. And then we run with it, really. And I just thought to myself, as a screenwriter, I thought, fuck it. What is the most unfundable storylines that I could imagine? And I love African-American culture. And I love the fact that when I watch sort of programs around Compton, or I watch programs about the Bronx, or you get to understand the struggle, very quickly you see across there, it's obviously more racially driven, but like it's definitely like in the vein of the Black Panthers. It's about class. It's not about race. That's a trick that the authorities try. They make it about race, but when it becomes about social and economic circumstances, you then, for me, I was looking at Snowfall, or I was looking at The Wire, or I was looking at different things, and it became obvious that as part of our narrative on say, Scotland's war on drugs, maybe not the British war on drugs, but just keeping it in a Scottish context, what role does the security services play in that? Like, we literally invaded Afghanistan, and our heroin supply went through the roof. There was more heroin on the streets after September the 11th. So that became to me like, well, what is going on there? What's who plays a part in it? Like, because we have this thing which is the Daily Record and the Sun newspaper love to do this sort of 1940s type language that they speak, which is about the gangsters and they create this community Mr. Big who's peddling all this stuff and makes communities a misery, and it's not really like that. Like, we kind of know that's not the case. Do you know what I mean? Like, fucking hell, families sell each other Valium and die of them. Families sell each other heroin and die of them. It's not a case of there's a big bad guy out there with a ponytail standing at the primary schools trying to get kids high. It's much more complex than that, I guess. So with that being said, I started doing research, and I came across this extraordinary article which says that the Moldovan economy was siphoned from, I don't know, it was like $1 billion or something like that was siphoned out the Moldovan economy, but it was registered to a shell company in Pilton. So I was just like, I found that fascinating. And then there was a couple of other instances where drug dealers had been caught, and this is all in public domain, but drug dealers had been caught, and there was one in particular who was sentenced to like 22 years in prison, and he served 2 years of that jail sentence, was sent to an open prison, and then apparently he was found dead of a heroin overdose like 3 weeks later. But then it became out that he was also an informant for MI6. So just based on that, I started seeing this world where I was like, well, what would happen if I had this imaginary family? And like, we all know that our soldiers are brave laddies and brave women that fight in these foreign wars, right? I think that anyway. And the way they're treated when they come back, which is the failure of their mental health services, the failure of housing, the failure of funding and stuff like that, I felt it was easier for me to create a main character who was a soldier, because that's our heroes, you know, that's patriotic identity and stuff like that. So I just fictionalized from that point onwards this imaginary character. Frank, being in the army, PTSD, still trying to come to terms with it, and then this family who are obviously, when he's been in the army, they've been up to all sorts with international drug dealing and stuff, at which point it becomes fantastical. At some point it just becomes my imagination. It's not based on reality. It's certainly not, like, even I was looking at one of the articles in the Daily Record, and it's saying like Edinburgh Gangster series explores Edinburgh Gangster series explores the hidden side of the scale. It's not an Edinburgh Gangster series. It's not that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that stuff's like, I wouldn't even speak about that stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's not really what I do. So, it became that, and really it became film school for the lot of us, because I would go out and shoot, and initially I was editing, camera, directing, location, security, just everything in the one. I was just like, pretty much set myself on a nervous breakdown, but it became film school. So then I would go out, would shoot scenes, I would just let the guys improvise, and they would give us a brilliant performance. But then when I was back in the edit, I couldn't cut the images, I couldn't cut the footage together, because say we had an amazing performance for this angle, we didn't get enough angles of that performance to then edit it coherently. So that became like a learning process. So suddenly it became, it was like, oh shit, this is a lot harder than what I was doing. It was impossible for me to do it ourselves. And then we really had to shut down production for a while, and we got Ryan, who became our DP. He came in, and like the guy's just amazing. He could trip and fall with a camera and get a good shot. So he came in and really saved the project. He came in with a professional attitude, but because he's from a traveller background, he understands prejudice. He understands what we're trying to do in a context of Scotland, and that became important, because if it was just like a film school type cameraman, the cast wouldn't have got on with him, the community wouldn't have got on with him, but yeah, the community really just embraced him. So we broke for a while, and unfortunately, like, one of our actors died, Jim, God bless him. Jim passed away. So when Jim passed away, I was sitting there, obviously gutted, like grieving, and I don't think all the cast were sort of grieving and took that as well, and it became like, I guess, necessity to make this then. I didn't want Jim's death and part in this to just end. So we're still sitting with like loads of footage of Jim. So I tried to write the first episode where we could include Jim, really, and keep him alive and pay respect to him and stuff like that as well, which obviously you can see it when that funeral, and you see Jim, like, that's real emotion that everybody's gone through. So even though it's a fictional funeral scene, like me, Mark and Mark's dad, we were at Jim's funeral. So when I done our funeral scene, I had to try and remember like what that was like, what the feelings were like, what the emotions were like, so I could try and take it to that level, and I think it works, you know.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's I think the acting was amazing, the filming's amazing, and I got that vibe you're talking about, The Wire. I don't think Scotland's ever had an equivalent to The Wire. I could feel The Wire vibe there. Also, maybe like a wee bit of Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, in the way that there was a kind of humorous element to it, which is great, because a lot of the Scottish, the gritty stuff, it's either stupid or it's just pure grim all the way through. So there was some light-hearted moments, and yeah, man, I just thought it was. What maybe do is I'll put I'll play the trailer just now, just in case anyone's not aware of the show yet. It's called Supply and Demand. It's free to watch on YouTube. Series 1's out there now. I'll put a link in the comments. And I mean, how much of it is filmed or how much of it is written? When's the next one?
I'm writing it now, really. That's me going back to we just done a crowdfunding campaign there, and it's only a couple of £100, but I got a couple of £100 there. It means that I can just go and write the next again episode. I can put food in the fridge and not have to worry about anything for a week and a bit, and then just go out and write now.
Amazing. And shout outs, we've got Zesh in the house. Hello, Zesh. Saying Ryan is next level. We've got Hank, legend, Supply and Demand was class. That's pricey, as the bold James Price. Do you know James?
You know, me and James are like, I feel like when I was doing the grey area, I felt it's so important. Like I knew this guy was going to shine one day. So when I was doing the sound design, I think it was on the grey area, pulled James into the sound design just so you could just have that experience of sitting with somebody like John Coben at 422 Studios, and to see him step up now as well. The fact, like, even with BBC and stuff like that as well, like his thing there, they should just fucking fund it. Yeah. It's not even like rocket science. Just fund the series and stop the fucking about, because the rest of it is just.
Well, that's it. For anyone who doesn't know, Dog Days is out on iPlayer just now. It's a 12-minute episodes. It's worth checking out. And all James Price's short films as well are absolutely top class. So check out his stuff. But going to play shouts to Lou Rogersons, who's also in the house. Hello, Lou. Hello, Ali. Hello, Rock Vibrations, who said, yep, bang on. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm just going to play the trailer just now. And if anyone's got any questions about Supply and Demand, then leave in the comments. We are live just now, unless you're watching in the future, in which case we aren't. But this is the trailer for Supply and Demand.
Listen up. $500 million siphoned out Moldova into a shell company registered in Pilton. Pilton. We need to know what's going on.
You ever whipped these fucking schemes?
Your cousin's funding terrorists. Did you know that? We left a war zone and came back to one. It's your fucking family, Frank.
Frank, your dad's dead.
Smack lives matter.
Listen! I'm done with fucking about. Everything that gets sold from now on in, we're on a percentage.
Fucking look at him, but this place is full of goods. That's dodgy ratchets, eh?
These guys are making millions from misery. I can get you complete immunity.
Your call is very important. Please
Yes, amazing. Yeah, man, absolutely brilliant. It's just type in supply and demand into YouTube, or I'm just going to put the link in the comments for anyone who's not seen it yet. And it was good to see some familiar faces there. 5-0, is that his first ever acting debut?
I think so, aye. He's just an amazing fucking energy, man. Like, even with him as well, like, the BBC could search for 1 million comedians and still not find anybody as good as him. Like, he's popular with the kids in every fucking school that you go to in Scotland. Like, every school that you go to, they're on his TikTok, sharing his stuff. It's incredible. What he's accomplished just in himself, by nothing, no support, but just that necessity to get his voice heard, I guess, and become the artist. Like, to see him now, we done a gig the other night there, and it was fucking brilliant. So to see him developing now as an artist, it's just an amazing thing to see, to be honest with you.
I seen some footage of that. You live streamed it on your page, Sketchy Beats.
Aye.
So what was the crack there? What was going on?
Well,
was that the celebration, the lunch party kind of thing?
It was important for me to try and have that because, like, I rap and I make movies, and I didn't really go to pubs or clubs or any of that shit. I'm mere a smoker, so it was just good for me to try and pull everybody together. And then sometimes when you do these things, like at the end of that night, there was a wee lad, he was like 19-year-old, and I says to him, look, I'll make sure you get a chance to perform and stuff like that. And he'd obviously thought I'd forgotten about him. And at the end of the night, just as everybody was sort of like hyped, I then pulled him on and gave him his opportunity. And he was never nothing to do with supply and demand to fill him. He was no in cast or anything like that. But to give a wee laddie like that a chance to perform in a room full of fucking boisterous people like us, it was brilliant. So that's what I mean. It becomes like another chance to shine the light on people and stuff like that as well. But the other reason I done that was to try and test the market for myself, because, like, when it comes to my music, it's not like up to standard support and promote me. It's not like 1250 support and promote me. But I have an audience of people who want my stuff. So the best thing that I can do then is put on a gig myself, see who comes to it, try and get as many email addresses as possible. And then when we put on another gig, contact all the email addresses and just say we're putting on a gig. And I think if I say next Wednesday we're putting on a gig, it would sell out again. So make that what you will. Do you know what I mean? It's easier to make music. The more it's easier for me to make a song and do a gig, the more it is to actually go through the production process, which is a lot more. You can have 17, 20 people. Obviously, for supply and demand, we only had a crew of 4, but it's just a bit easier to get that as an art form to get that out. So that's why I done that at Sketches, and obviously we paid them like 200 quid for that night as well. So we've got to do that again, and I think to try and raise some funds.
Is the crowdfund? Sorry, man, there's that wee bit of delay. Sorry for talking over you there. But is there a link? Have you got the link for the crowdfunder you can send me? Is it still live?
I'll send it over to you.
Send it over to me, man. I'll put it in the comments and put it in the bio for people who are watching this in the future. You can see it in the bio, or it'll come up in the comments. And guys, just stick a few quid in if you can. It makes a difference.
I still feel like a scumbag for asking for people for money.
Well, mate, that's how I've only managed to continue to do this show for years because of people supporting the Patreon, and it's not a lot of money, but it's enough just to keep it going. So shout outs to all the people who do it, and I think we are in quite an interesting time where we can look at. I was doing at Steg's gig last week, just doing some interviews and stuff, and we do need to just find a way to fund our own media, because we can't just wait for the gatekeepers, and then when you've got your gatekeepers. It's great to see when something good does come through, but how much of it is the final product that they would want, I don't know. But
I think
speaking of pricey, he's saying my first time seeing a proper sound design, and Zesh quite rightly saying the lassie that played Laura in Dog Days was unbelievable, great watch. I totally agree with that, and it was great to hear the sort of the Dundonian accent on telly as well, because obviously it's quite Glasgow centric. A lot of media in Scotland, I'm well aware of that, and it's not even a typical Glaswegian accent. It's the studio Scottish accent.
Who was it that played Laura? Was that Shannon, the bird with the blonde hair?
I think so. I think that's one. Maybe Pricey can tell us who it was.
I thought she was always going to be a good actress.
And it was we got hello CJ, thank you for tuning in. Doing well. And Zesh is also saying may he rest in peace. You've done him justice with the storytelling. G, the humour was needed and executed. What's happening, Mark? Hope you're well. I'm well, Zesh. Good to see you a bit. Was Zesh performing as well? I thought I seen him in the live stream, but I didn't see him actually performing.
He performed. He performed. He ducked out the live stream. He's got warrants. No, I'm only joking. He doesn't have warrants.
Well, I've actually got a video lined up here of your hip hop. We'll go back to the film directing stuff, because I've got a few more questions about that I'd like to ask you. But while we're talking about the live hip hop, I mean, just seeing your development as a hip hop artist is incredible, man. I mean, the song we're about to play just now, "Welcome to the Scheme." And I mean, even I can't remember, what was the name of the tune you were, I think you just finished when you were on the show last time with Kitty Get Claws and stuff during lockdown?
I can't even remember what the last one was, what the last song was when I was speaking.
Yeah, this is 2020. Feels like another lifetime ago since then, man. So we've got Welcome to the Scheme, an absolute banger of a tune. Could you just give us a wee intro to it?
It was the same thing. Like, you can see, like, you can just see my bit come to life in it. So you just create that art in that community where it never really happens is just a beautiful thing.
Amazing. And I'm just going to, while we're watching this, guys, I'm going to put the GoFundMe is in the comments now. So if you enjoy supply and demand and you want to see more stuff like that, then stick a tenner in if you can. It's going to good work. And this is Welcome to the Scheme, featuring Garry Fraser featuring Zesh.
Step to the scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Step to the scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Oi, Jerry! Stepped in the scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Stepped in the scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. One hurt or quitter, stabbed in the shitter. Got some killers and some drillers on the payroll. They know it's time to handle business in Lalo. Doing the big man when the wee man says so. And mostly I'm just checking if my word's a fucking weapon. That's ironic cause I'm surrounded by street legends who be carrying some weapons. So the stashes in the deck and say it for effect, and like the tears come by the dozen. Like fuck, I miss my wee cousin and I'm shouting to God like where the fuck is he? We was busy getting Lizzie but the busies had us in the station. No, coming to the charges we facing. Stepped in the scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Stepped in the scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Stepped in the scheme and no more thugs left. Another cunt gone by a fucking drug death. And focusing on mental when I'm spitting an instrumental like fucking body kettle. Jail rules in effect. So who the fuck's next? We hitting the killer, losing addict like every 7 hours. Bounce with an ounce, get the full house shaking. Looking at the party and my drugs they taking. I'm a scheme boy, so I see the shit proudly. Show up in the Audi, yes sir. Handing out the testers in the Vespa. Welcome to the scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. ha ha ha. Welcome you to scheme, my son. Get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha ha ha. Edinburgh City where the lifestyle's gangland. Guns go bang bang in my slum. 6 million ways to die, choose one. Assalamu alaikum, mera naam Bhatti. Remember times with my brothers, from the shields and the guddy. Doing tons, robbing cunts, anything for money. But I've never been the type, I'm not a sucker to these honeys. Imagine taking risks just to splash it on these dirties. For 23-hour lockups in the cell doing puppies. Irish in my blood, half Pakistani buddy. So dinner time for curries, lunchtime chip butties. My dad was Paki, so he'd ask me where his shop is. And all along he's locked up for hustling those boxes. Special kind of cloth, the cop shop couldn't stop this. And I haven't told my story, all I gave was a synopsis. So what's the plan and what's the mission? It's 2021, fuck that 2020 vision though. Nothing's changed, walk down, leaf, walk with me. Still see the poverty, still know there's robberies. Still get slapped for not talking to me properly. Never mind, I already told them I'm living lawfully. Still got the piggies on the chase trying to stop me. Still know there's enemies with blades wanna job me. Stepped in the scheme, my son, get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Stepped in the scheme, my son, get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha.
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm with that. Free lunch, he had too much chit chat. Knock knock, who's there? Where the shit at? Watch that, young G, let's go kickback. I send my young drillers to where the bricks at. I'm your unlucky card, call me blackjack. If you're looking for clout, I can dish that. My life for your life, I can risk that. I got glassed up, it was a mishap. He got stabbed up when it was pitch black. He got fractured, I took his bitch to his mattress where she got damaged and pampered shit. She don't respect you, you come through bitching. With the real man, assume natural position. Got her in the kitchen, whipping, mixing bicarbonate with Colombian dishes, just business. Had to fuck with her man before she fucks with the white hand. Go talks with the pigs is. Have her break it down to point one amount. So when I'm done with this bitch, you can chat to your missus. My jigger, don't flash a 9-inch too. You're fucking dreaming if you think you can step to the scheme from outside and they're not fucking scheming.
Stepped in the scheme, my son, get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Stepped in the scheme, my son, get shot, get stabbed, have fun. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Come on, this one. Stepped in the scheme, my son, get shot, get stabbed.
I should call that radio. We're live with Garry Fraser. Lots of love in the comments for that track. Rock Vibration says, love it. That beat is dirty. And what a collaboration. That track is 3 styles, 3 stories, 1 cracking track from Malcolm Milkman. And Stuart Graham saying that takes me back to my scheme. Good stuff. Good stuff. But absolute banger of a track, man. What, are you working on an album or anything like that? I mean, obviously, the supply and demand, I suppose that's the one good thing about doing your own soundtrack is you don't need to worry about getting royalties or permission.
Oh, well, that's funny because now my YouTube platform is a paid platform. So now I get paid for the music as well, which is great. It's only like, I don't know, like 80 pence or something like that just now, but it's not the point. I guess the point is that I'm now in charge. Like, I control what I put out. I have complete creative control. So I want to do a supply and demand soundtrack, really. So we're way up to Dundee on Friday. We've got to go and record some stuff on Friday, and we've not got a clue what we're going to record, but that's the beautiful thing about being a writer. You just, it's there in abundance anyway. And I think, like, with Sean, he's sort of been off the front line for a wee while now, getting his shit together. So to see him coming back now, like, it's needed. Do you know what I mean? Because I think he's just that title song that was on the other trailer, like, it's one of the best songs that I've heard. Not even like on a Scottish context. It's just unbelievable lyricism and unbelievable, like, ability within himself. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really interested to see where this goes. And also, drill music's not really my thing, but to try and incorporate that in, it means that I then start fucking with some younger artists as well, so they try and pull a name into the fold. So if it stops them for like, I have this rule that nobody can be dealing when they're around me. It's just the way I am. So if they manage to put away the knives, and I know that I'm a fucking charity, but if they manage to put away the knives and the drugs, the dealing life, then I'll happily accept them into my fold as well. Do you know what I mean? And that's just the way I am, really. So you just never know who's got to come up next and what they're got to come up with, but it's just a good position to be in, I guess. And we're away at the mosque the night, funny enough, me, Sean and Yaya. So we're away at the mosque the night. Change days, Mark.
And it's 17,000 views since, was it Friday it came out?
But I think it's a wee bit more than that now. It's I don't know what happens with YouTube the way they do the thing, because it says on my
it's a delay. There's a delay. There's a delay on it. So whatever you've got will be the right one. On your YT Studio updates, I think, by the hour, but I think it takes about a day for it to catch up. Usually
19,161 just now. So, and the channel
absolutely
was
incredible.
The
and
channel
that's with absolutely zero media coverage, really.
Zero media coverage. Edinburgh Live done a good.
The papers.
And I think the Daily Record done well, they just cut and pasted Edinburgh Live, lazy fucking journalism for the Record as usual. But Edinburgh Live done us a good turn, I guess, putting it on their thing as well.
What's the best bit of advice you've ever had, or is there a bit of advice that you maybe give to the sort of the young ones who come to, you're just saying there about how, you put away the knives, don't be dealing round here if you're going to get involved in film. Is there any good bits of advice that you would give to people in general for maybe just starting out in film, or maybe trying to become an actor or wanting to become a director?
I think just go out and do it. Like that, I think that's the thing. Like, some people wait for it to happen. Other people wait for them to be motivated. But for me, like, I've been making movies for 18 years, and every single day I teach myself something new about the filming process, about script writing. And I guess with that other side of things, like, it's very easy for me to be who I feel quite comfortable in life now. So it's very easy for me to say to people, give up your only financial means, but certain types of money come with certain types of consequences, and it means you don't have peace of mind. And I think the drug game, if you do it properly, it will give you PTSD. It will give you, like, the world is a reflection of you. If you're jumping about stabbing cunts and fucking making money and try to be that, then that karma comes back to you. It could be your mum's door gone in. It could be not being able to spend time with your children. Like, if you're in the jail, you can't be a dad. And for me, I know plenty of people around me, like my brother Billy. To walk away from the life and to be a proper man is to look after your family. It's not to sell as much coke and try and be Scarface. It's not to try and it's not to embrace the devil within us. You have to try and heal, and that's a very important word, because not a lot of people try and heal. So for me and all the shit that I've come through, I'm in a blessed position now where I try and speak about that stuff, and I usually speak to people about their central nervous system and what they do to fix that and what they do to maintain that, because I might sound a bit patronising, but, like, what are we? We're physical, we're emotional and spiritual beings. And one of that things that we never ever talk about as a society is our soul. Our soul is not something that we get when we die. Our soul is something that has been here millennium before we were even here. And we have untapped resources that are within us. You didn't need to take acid or DMT to get that. Like, we have that within us. But if you're conditioned by either the drug game, or you're conditioned by media or all these things that are just modifying our brains constantly, the phones, the internet, we just live in this time now where we lose our identity. So for me, when you embrace the beautiful things, the universe starts paying you back. But if all your focus and attention is on being dishonest, the universe also pays you back. So it has consequences either way. So I think it's important for people, especially in schemes, because, like, schemes are fucking toxic environments. Like, everything in it is designed to either make you not well, make you stressed, whether that be the doctor's surgeries, whether that be the chemists, the bookies, the chippies, the very fabric of our nature is to make us unwell and then depend on them for something. But when you embrace that other side, which is your soul and your physical fitness as well, like it's important for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I might say to somebody like, look, I want, and this is just for me, like, I want people to walk away for dealing drugs. I want people to feel the ability to walk away for carrying knives and carrying weapons and living like that. But that doesn't mean to say I want people to walk away for violence. Like we're males and testosterone is in our being as well. So you have to find a way to control that. So for me, it comes through martial arts. Like in supply and demand, like there is so many fucking really hard people in supply and demand, but they're not walking about up the tune, hitting people or bullying people or anything like that. Like they have controlled violence. Like Chris Bungard is fighting on Saturday in Cage Warriors. Like the Polish people, they're all competitive fighters. So there was a lot of professional fighters in supply and demand, and you can learn off of that. You can learn how to embrace that part because there is a mindfulness that comes with that as well. And that's about, for me anyway, it's about working class culture again, whether it be boxing, whether it be fucking Kung Fu, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, whatever that is, you can embrace that because there is a code of ethics that come with that. There is principles and fundamentals that you learn with that. And that's a beautiful thing. Like I'm 44, coming up for 45, and I've been doing Muay Thai now for a year and a half, and my life has changed because I'm gone there and I'm putting in the work, and I'm humbled every single day by 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds that are booting fuck out of me and can batter me, no problem at all. So I know I'm going in there, and that comes with me like, okay, so that means like beforehand, I thought I was at war with the world. Like I thought the way I was before when I was on the drugs and stuff like that, and basically I'd watched too many movies, you know, and I thought I was at war with the world, and I didn't realize I was at war with myself. I was self-harming myself with the substances that I was taking. I was self-harming myself with the media that I was consuming. I was self-harming myself with the people that I was surrounding myself with because it was all toxic to my soul. So now I'm on that other side of the fence where I can see the damage that was all there, and like I get to spend time. If my wee girl phones me up and she's got a problem, I can jump in the car and go and get her and we can talk. If I was doing 10 years in the jail, 16 years in the jail for being a real street cunt, I wouldn't be able to do that. You know? So I get peace of mind now, and I guess that's what I say to some of the youngsters, I guess, that are and I say it, like the drill music plays a part in it as well. You know, a lot of them do the drill music and it's very violent, orchestrated, and they perpetuate a life that they've probably not lived because they're young and they've no experienced the jail cells like that. They've no experienced 23-hour double-ups. They've no experienced fucking riots. They've no experienced funeral after funeral after funeral. So it becomes incumbent on people like me to go back into places like Muirhouse and Poulton or Posol or fucking, like, when I talk about my scheme, I'm not even talking about just Poulton and Muirhouse. Like, I'm talking about Glasgow's schemes. I'm talking about Dundee's schemes. I'm talking about Fife's schemes. I'm talking about Falkirk schemes. I'm talking about there is much more benefit speaking like that because it's the same shit that we're all going through. But, you know, you can't preach to people either. I guess for me, I just try and live the way that I want to live. And because I'm passionate about it, hopefully other people go, I want a bit of what he's got.
Absolutely, man. It's you're talking about the nervous system and mindfulness. That's something that I'm trying to get a wee bit more into, just to be a bit less stressed out, do a wee bit more exercise. And I was watching, I don't know if you're Andrew Huberman.
That's my go-to.
Is it? Aye, I've just got into him the last few weeks or so, man. Some interesting stuff, but the double sniff and then breathing out longer than, and I was like, shit, actually works. Wow. So that's the parasympathetic system or something?
Yeah, you've got your limbic system as well. Like, a lot of people didn't know, when you wake up in the morning and you go for a walk, as the sun's coming up, that then sets you up for the rest of the day in the way you deal with stress. There are certain things that we can do. Like we have 5 stages of mind when we wake up. You know, we have alpha, delta, omega. I can't remember what the order off the top of my head. But if you can understand what your brain waves are doing at certain periods of the day, then you can then have optimum performance for sport, optimum performance for creativity. And that is fucking beautiful, because you then start picking apart. I don't need to go to university to be an artist. I don't need to go to an official institution to learn that. And it comes back on us again. We have so much within. Like, we have God within us. We have divinity within us. And that's when you start looking at the neuroscience, everything, and it becomes so obvious to me. Massively, it becomes obvious.
Yeah, I think Andrew, what he's saying is that you've got to try and get, you know, you think things that we do, you know, get daylight before you get screen time. And obviously it's not the world, you can have a really busy week, so it's not always possible. But, you know, I try to go out for a cycle, get the daylight before I look at my phone. I've done it for 2 days in a row. Listen to me, acting like Mr. Miyagi here. Did 2 days in a row, but I feel better for it. That, and I've been taking a wee bit of ashwagandha as well, which the missus put us onto, and I do feel better for it.
Lion's Mane as well.
And also, what I was going to say, I was listening to Lion's Mane. I've got some in the house. I've actually got some, so I'll maybe get into the Lion's Mane. Also, Rick Rubin book. I'm listening to the audio book just now, which is great. You know, you're talking about you're going out to record on Friday. I'd recommend listening to a bit of that, because basically what Rick Rubin's doing is just talking about the sort of the magic of creativity, and he's saying a lot of things that you already know, but see, just to have that reinforced. I'm away to record some new stuff, going to rehearse some new stuff on Thursday, and I'm absolutely buzzing about it now. I was a wee bit nervous last week because I was like, I hope it's good, the new stuff, but I'm actually just excited to get in about it. And that sort of leads me on to my next question about creativity. With regards to, for you, is it just being in the right zone, or do you have different creativity? Do you go in a writing mode for film, or do you go in a writing mode for writing your raps or your poems, or is it just the same thing for you?
I find it really difficult. Like, if I'm, like, my guilty pleasure is writing rap music. Like, it's very easy for me to do. It's almost like a cop-out, really. If I have a joint, start slamming on instrumentals, or I'll have a feeling, and I find it hard to describe what that feeling is. But when I write the bars down and make a good hook, or a clean 16 on the verse, I can then sort of reflect on that and understand a wee bit more about myself. But when it comes to screenwriting, it's a very isolated thing. Like, I have to really. I heard James Cameron say this before, the guy at done Avatar. Ideas are very easy, but you have to listen to the ideas that come and go, but then the residue of that idea stays in your brain. Listen to that, because that's your intuition telling you something, and that's really what I try and do more often than not, is try and listen to my intuition. The music and especially rap, I've never expected that to pay. I've never expected to get any checks, any recording deals, I couldn't give a fuck about BBC One Extra or Fire in the Booth or all that, or any of that. I didn't give a fuck about any of that, because, like, when I done Warzone, which is one of the songs that I done, one of the best feelings in my life, I was like last summer, I think. I was driving through Poulton, and the wee guys at the chippy had a Bluetooth speaker, and they were playing my music. So a bit dodgy, but I crept up to them in the car, and I was just watching them, and I was just listening. And then I drove past another scheme, Muirhouse, which is my own scheme, and they were listening to it. And I had to fucking stop the car after it and just stop and have so much gratitude for that experience, because I just thought back to the Garry that was selling smack, the Garry that was involved in everything, and then the Garry that was an absolute baron who well before the drugs, well before everything else, and how many people I've lost, how many people we've all lost in these areas through drug deaths, through suicides, through all the usual stuff. And I just stopped, because I was like, fuck, man. I made them listen. They didn't even know it, but I made them listen. And that was beautiful for me. Like that meant that I couldn't give a fuck about Charlie Sloth. I couldn't give a fuck about when people say best British urban act and that. They're not talking about us up here. They're just not talking about us up here. We're a different nationality. We're a different culture. Black, white, Asian, whatever. But we're a different culture up here. And we're not even recognised. You get some artists who are amazing, but you have to just sort of like what Young Fathers do and like what Loki does or like what other Glasgow artists do. You just create your own market, create your own lane, and be as regional as you want, because then you have a certain authenticity about you. You're not trying to rap in an English accent or an American accent. But then I guess with filmmaking, it's different because rap is my ego. I still rap like I'm out there selling drugs, and I know I'm not. And sometimes I feel like, fuck, what am I actually trying to say here? Like, I never rap when everything's gone good. I never ever write rap music when I'm fucking everything's buzzing. I never talk about BAFTAs and all the other stuff. It's the trauma that comes through in it. But with the filmmaking, it's a different beast altogether, because then I'll write something and then the actors will read it, and then when they read it, they'll start putting their opinions onto it. And then when they start putting their opinions and views from their character, this other mothball starts happening, and it's basically momentum. There's an energy there, and momentum starts driving it, and it becomes, I get that other vehicle. And then what I do is I'll go back to writing sort of music again, because I hear the film before I see it. Like, I'll hear the scenes, I'll hear the sound design, I'll hear the scene before I actually see the scene. And then I can start sort of polishing it and going over it and taking criticism or feedback or a wee bit of negotiation, I suspect. And then before you know it, we're on set. And that is an incredible experience as a film director, actually being on set and doing the damage.
Well, you mentioned the BAFTAs there, and you mentioned earlier on about feeling blessed. I mean, there's probably been many times, but is there anything any days in particular where there was just like a big turning point, whether that was you just felt more confident that you were on the right path? Because obviously coming from a scheme like myself, the idea that you think, we're very good in Scotland at clipping people's wings before they get above their station, and that's the best and the worst qualities of Scottishness, I think. But we're really quick to clip people's wings before they're even done anything yet. So it can be really hard to get the confidence to go out there and put yourself out there and be vulnerable like that. There's probably been a few now in your career, but has there been anyone that stuck out where you went, you felt good, you woke up and you felt, yes, I'm on the right path and I think I can do this?
There's been a couple. My first movie won a MTV award, right? So that was a bit of like, I think I can do this. But when I graduated from college, everybody else in my class went on to university, and I went to Edinburgh Film Festival, and I had a crate, and I sat in front of the Edinburgh Film House, and I had a board, and I wrote on the board a quote for Boys for the Black Stuff, like Giza Joe back in the day that. And I just thought to myself, any sort of working class producer or any working class director will know that that's a famous quote for Boys for the Black Stuff. And this guy walked past me and he was asking me what I was doing, and I told him, I says, I'm an up and coming film director, I'm trying to get a job in the industry and all that shit. And he was like, have you got a show reel? And I was like, yep, I've got it here. And I gave him it. And he walked away from me, and I was kind of like, oh shit, maybe I should have tried to like blag that a bit more. So I thought I'll go back in and speak to him. And then as I went into the film house, there was like 15, 20 people gathered around this guy, and it turned out to be Shane Meadows. So he was like, do you want to come for a drink with us? Like, I was on like fucking 120 mils of methadone and 6 Blue Valleys at the time. Like, that was what I was taking on a daily basis. So as soon as that whiskey hit me, I was fucked. So I ended up getting drunk with him wee Tomo for This Is England. And the next day morning, I got a phone call for Shane, and he says, like, that was the best student film I've ever seen in my life. He's like, do you want to come up and watch my movie, Ming and Tomo's movie? It's called Summerstown. I was like, Shane, I will only get into the fucking the film festival. Like, cunts like me didn't get in up there. And he was just like, look, I'll make sure you get in. So I go up to the Cineworld, and as I go up, the whole place is just packed. It's just sold out. And I go to turn and walk away, and wee Tomo spots me. I get rushed through all these people, and I'm at the front of this big screen, this packed fucking cinema, and then we're sitting watching Summerstown premiere at the Edinburgh Film Festival, and then Tomo through the whole screen is sitting talking in my ear about Tolerance, which was a short film that I'd done. And then at the end of it, Shane was just like, look, if anybody wants it, like if anybody wants to take a leaf out of Garry Fraser's book, and is Garry here? And then obviously everybody in this whole fucking thing is just looking at me. So that was one of the times I made friends with Shane then, and that gave me a bit of belief and confirmation about, because they were telling me stuff about how hard the next few years are going to be, and I was a bit like bravado, I guess, like, nah, I can do this, and I didn't realise how difficult it was going to be, because when you stick to the course, nobody's going to prepare you for not being able to eat properly, not being able to live properly, what you sacrifice from that, and all that other stuff. So I done that. But I guess one of the most telling things for me is how serious I was taking it was when I done Everybody's Child. I toured around Europe. I managed to go to all these film festivals and sold out in Norway, Germany, Amsterdam. So I had these beautiful experiences, but I still had a drug habit. So I made a decision to myself that I was going to get clean. And I didn't know fuck all about Narcotics Anonymous or trauma or any of that type of wording back then. So I was just constantly just trying to get clean, and failing, clean, relapse. So for some reason, I flung myself into a homeless hostel, and on 35 mils of methadone and a couple of valleys, I just quit. And I remember like walking about, and I just had this, just all this trauma, all this 25 years of just psychological warfare just come and hit me. And when I was trying to explain to the drug counsellors, they would ask me about myself, and I would tell them, like, I'm teaching at the colleges, I've won a BAFTA, I want to be a film director, and they say, are you delusional? They kept thinking that I was just fucking delusional or something, and I had this belief in myself that I can be an amazing, great film director. And I started writing The Grey Area, and I got all these addicts who were just out of treatment, and they came in and started doing the same thing again. They started owning these stories, and everybody started healing, and it was amazing. And I got a phone call it's like 8 months on, I got a phone call for Irvin Welsh, and he says to me that Danny Boyle wants my phone number. So I gave him it. Danny says he was doing Trainspotting 2. Would I like to do some research around it? Would I like to act in it? And I says, I didn't act like that. I wouldn't act. I says, I make movies. I didn't act in them. And then I says to him, do you want to come up to this adult drama group that I'm doing? He came up to it, and it sort of boosted everybody's confidence and mine's as well. And then he says to me that night, I'm going to cast all your guys. And then a couple of weeks later, he phoned me up and asked me if I wanted to be the second unit director on Trainspotting 2. And I remember walking up to this big fucking film studio, and I knew this is what I wanted to do in my life. Like, this opportunity's got to come once, and I just own it. And I did. I just absolutely smashed it. But that doesn't mean to say that I wasn't going to be homeless again, or I wasn't going to be tempted by drugs again. It was just the poverty struggle continues. Just because you're fucking doing Trainspotting and showing up at BAFTAs, like, I fucking went to BAFTAs and no ate for 2 days. Like, you know what I mean? You're in a room full of people who they've probably got all their own struggles. Do you know what I mean? No, everybody in there comes from the abject poverty that I come from, or the relative poverty, sorry, that I come from. So, you then put the struggle into your work. So the grey area becomes social commentary. And shout out to the BBC originally, who put it on their channel, and we broke the viewing figures on their new channel. Like, we absolutely smashed it. We had artists like India Rose and that for Dundee did the title track. Like, we tried to include people again as well in our journey when we didn't need to, but we tried to include that because we seen that there was talent out there that wasn't getting even any recognition, and then you come again, you know. So it becomes like every year, every 2 years, when the pressure and the odds are stacked up against me, I smash it out the park. And I guess that's in my nature now. Some people didn't know whether they break because they've never been bent. For me, I feel like my whole fucking life's just been a constant pressure. So to now be able to be free for a lot of that, it means that I'm much more productive. Like, I've just wrote a book about my life in the last 8 months, you know, so that'll be coming out soon as well. And the purpose of writing a book was to have ownership again and have full ownership, because obviously making a movie, I have ownership, but it might not make any money. So the chance was to actually write a book and have full IP rights and all that stuff. So as wee things, and I guess that's when you trust the process and you trust the universe, that's what's going to happen. And that's very difficult when you're up against it, because you're constantly tried and tested.
Ali saying, Gary, sounds like you're in a good place.
Thanks, Ali.
Lou Rogerson saying that's a proper fairy tale of a story. Amazing. Zenga the Titan. Aye, it's good to hear about the journey. Zenga, one of the best freestylers in the country. Stuart Graham, love that story. And Weezan says, right for us because no one else does. And Zesh is agreeing with that. Trust me, exactly. And Malcolm, going back a wee bit, and this is the first time in 2 days I've spent more than 20 minutes on the internet. Addiction to screen time is a real problem. It most certainly is. I don't think it counts. I don't think it counts when it's You Call That Radio and it's Garry Fraser on the internet. I think that's a wee bit different. Hopefully everyone's getting some good stuff off the internet, because it's not all bad. It's just that constant mindless scrolling in it.
Yeah.
Mark Calvert saying yoga in the morning, good time, divine. Discipline says rock vibrations. And Lou saying I take a walk daily to help my mental and physical health, even just 20 minutes to help deal with stress better. Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone's commenting. Garry, it's an absolute pleasure as always speak to you. This has done about an hour. Go and watch Supply and Demand on YouTube right now if you've not already seen it. I've put the link in the comments so you can just check it out right now. Don't even mess about. It's 40 minutes and it's probably the best 40 minutes of TV you'll see in the comments. And then if you enjoy it, there's a wee link to the GoFundMe below that as well. And go and support it, because we just need to stop relying on the gatekeepers and create our own stuff. And yeah, Garry, what else coming? Obviously, you've got episode 2 of Supply and Demand, and you've got a book. Anything else you want to give a shout out to?
Nah, just shout out to Zamfia and the baby and the kids and stuff like that as well. She's holding it down for me so I can actually do my thing, which is great to have support. And shout out to Billy and Gary J, who's working up at Dundee, and wee Destiny and Faith and Zamfia's wee one Jessica.
Have we got a song? Should we finish with a song, I think? One of your own ones, or anything else you're enjoying just now?
Fuck it, one of mine, eh? Some go to college, some go to jail. I think that's on a good amount of views now as well.
Some go to college. Yeah, got it. You're 33,000, man. That's outstanding. Brilliant stuff, man. All the best, Garry.
Thank you, Mark.
Well done on Supply and Demand. It is. I can't wait for episode 2. And this is Some Go to Jail. So enjoy this tune, guys, and then go and check out Supply and Demand. It's free to watch on YouTube, and throw a few quid in if you can. Nice one, Garry. All the best, mate. See you soon.
Garry Anthony Fraser, 45478 HMP Edinburgh. One of the numbers, boss. I was reminiscing about my time spent in prison. Man, he really didn't listen, try to kill us with prescriptions. Can you feel abandoned and abandoned? Bolton's got the anger bolted in his high-rise children. I was reminiscing about my time spent in prison. Man, they really didn't listen, try to kill us with prescriptions. Some go to college and some go to jail. Some of them snitching, some get bail. I'm like, pass it, John, cause it's time to inhale. Bloodshot eyes with the scheme sunrise. And now I've never robbed guys, and now I've named mob ties. You're a rapper with a bar, I'm a trapper with a scar. Some for growing up, some for showing up. So fair enough, my scars are beautiful. Remember saying to Mikey at Brian's funeral, cause the world's reflection of us. Now I write for us, cause no one else does. Now you're at the sheriff and jury, caught with a jury. A victim of the drug death is how they want to do you. A victim of a drug death is how they want to do you. Back down the scheme and there ain't no stopping me. Drug squad spotting me, sidestep, chopper come properly. Walking with my sword tucked awkwardly. Some go to college, some go to jail. Some of them snitching, some get bail. Some go to college, some go to jail. Some of them snitching, some get bail. Armed response, try to intimidate me. Justice is blind, but my daughters can't see. 2 cars on the street, about 8 man deep. Let's play hide and seek. Warrant check, but I'm not saying nothing. Got the trap line buzzing on the phone to my cousin. He's like, bro, we got enemies. If it was me, you'd do the shit for me. Loyalty, honour and family. Fuck the parents cause the schemes made a man out of me. Bouncing off these walls, I've been going through withdrawals. Heroin, codeine, crack, cocaine. But it can't numb the pain like I'm off to the flame. These guns soft in the game. Bro, I got the street fame. Bro, I got the street name. The dealers and the thugs come and fuck with me. Hear the siren screams and these violent schemes with these violent teens. Some go to college, some go to jail. Some of them snitching, some get bail. Some go to college, some go to jail. Some of them snitching, some get bail. I was reminiscing about my time spent in prison. Man, they really didn't listen, try to kill us with prescriptions. Kids feel abandoned in abandoned buildings. Got the anger building in these high-rise children. Literally these folk are making a killing but not willing to face the facts. The media immediately attack and they go and point blame, while 12-year-olds sit on my stair and sell crack cocaine. Some go to college, some go to jail. Some of them snitching, some get bail. Some go to college, some go to jail. Some of them snitching, some get bail.
The Entourage.
Do you want weirdo or do you want itchy?
If you don't